Walker finds Dexter. Laurence, a lot of space. Laurence going deep. Dexter over the top, backhand in the end zone.
Boy.
This could win the game. Laurence goes up the right hand and stabs it down. 3 seconds left on the clock. Are you kidding
me? I'm open. Welcome to the I'm Open podcast with Ryan, Sam, Joe, and Andrew as always. And today with special guest Keenan Laurence of the Oakland Spiders, coming off a huge win over Colorado. So we are going to get to know Keenan, and then we're going to talk about the Spiders, and then we are going to tier talk. Yeah.
Sweet.
Good to know.
All right.
Ryan, you want to hit us with the first question?
Sure. Keenan, this is kind of like our go-to for all our guests, but you want to just talk about your Frisbee history and how you got into the sport and where you are now with what you're doing, all things flat ball?
Yeah, totally. I got into Frisbee in fall of 2016. I was a junior in high school. I used to play lacrosse a lot, and I actually pulled myself away from that sport because too many head injuries. Ended up finding Frisbee, and yeah, I like to say like once I found the sport, the rest was kind of history. I think that's like for a lot of people. But I played all throughout the rest of high school until I graduated in 2018, and then I took a gap year. Didn't really want to go to college for anything specific. And so I took a year off and I tried out for the San Jose Spiders at the time, and started playing pro essentially right out of high school. And I've just been doing that pretty much ever since.
Oh yeah.
Right on, dude. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know where I wanted to go with this, but like this is the elephant in the room. You had like the game-winning buzzer beater catch last night. We talked a little bit when you just joined before we hit record, but like, can you tell us like how you feel about that? Like, what was it like in the moments after and the moments before? Like, just walk us through that play. Like, I'm dying to know. It was pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, no, electric moment in Oakland last night. We rallied super hard the fourth to string together like a phenomenal comeback against a top tier team. And that last play was a fun one because Dexter, he was walking on the line, and Dexter was just like, all right, guys, let's call game. Like, this is keep in mind, like our 19-year-old rookie on the team, like just ready to call game. And so we set up a little string play, and it was literally just Dexter to me. And I think Dexter even had to like double clutch it and like move his mark for multiple stall counts. So by the time Dexter releases it, like I'm already 60 yards away, just kind of hanging 1v1. And he put in the perfect spot. And I want to say that I was pretty confident I was going to come down with that one. And it felt really good to actually make it happen. I think that's my first, it wasn't quite a buzzer beater because there's still 3 seconds left, but that's my first essentially buzzer beater in the AUDL, which was really fun.
I would say it counts as a buzzer beater for sure. Like,
I think
you had to do the pull like after that was kind of a formality, but it had like everything about it had the vibe of like a game winning like catch. So I think we'll count it in our very official records.
Sweet. I'll count it too.
Yeah. You were talking earlier like that the vibes and like not a lot of sleep. Like what's the team vibes right now? Like, are you guys talking like, holy shit, like we're in the playoffs, like we're a team not to be messed with? Like what's the group chat talk like right now?
Elation. People are just having fun. 50% of the team this year is brand new, never played pro before. So
that's crazy.
It's been a challenge to incorporate new people into our culture, the way we do things, and kind of like our rowdy, fun vibe that we've got going on. But everyone's kind of rallying behind it, and we're just kind of like starting to realize how good we are or how good we can be. But I know that our ceiling is yet to be seen, and we still have about 4 more games in the regular season to continue building and growing, and everyone's really excited just to keep doing that.
And you're forgive me if I'm wrong, but you're the team captain, right? Or one of the captains.
Yeah, I've been
Correct, so-
captaining. This is my 4th year now that I'm captaining.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right on. So and also that makes me feel a little bit better because when we were talking about like just the teams and we do a lot of previews before the season started, and I was like, the Spiders are like kind of a blind spot for me. I was like, I don't really know like much about this team. And then hearing you say, like, kind of confirming that, like, yeah, half these guys are brand new, haven't even played before. So that makes me be like, okay, I'm glad it wasn't just me, like, not like, being ignorant of Oakland Frisbee. But like, what, as a captain, what has it been like? What's your messaging been from the start of the season? Like, what have you been telling the guys, like in the huddle, at practice? Like, what's kind of the you know, team philosophy with just such a new team, and you guys are going out there, I definitely exceeding our expectations. But yeah, what are you saying to the guys?
Yeah, I think we're exceeding our own expectations too.
Mhm.
Definitely didn't think that the West would look quite like this at this point in the year, which is really exciting. I think it makes for awesome entertainment. I know that our division is going to be the division to watch closing out the season.
Yeah.
The overall messaging from me, I like to really focus on the energy, body language, supporting teammates, being able to rally with each other through thick and thin. And we kind of have, so the other 2 captains on the team, we have Evan Magsig and also Max Williams. The 3 of us have now been playing on the Spiders for at least 3 years together. We're all 23, so it's a very young captain core, but we've been doing it for a minute now.
That's nuts.
And so like half the team brand new, half the team like young guys that have been playing together in pro for
Mhm.
multiple years. And so me, Max, and Evan, we've kind of been splitting up a little bit, like bringing the different energy. Like I rely on Evan a lot to bring that like competitive fire energy, to make sure that like we're able to push each other in practice. Like we want our young guys to get better. We want our people like me, like I'm still 23, like I want to get better personally. And so we're all trying to do it together. And so we're kind of like just tag teaming the different vibes and different energies, and they're meshing really well together at the moment, I would say.
That's sick.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
I would agree too.
It's crazy how like collectively captains, players, you guys are so young and yet like you've been captaining for 4 years. Like that's nuts to me. One more note on the game. Going into the Colorado game, you knew you weren't gonna have Chris or Mac, who like statistically wise are like, really dominant for your team. Like, what was the mindset going in? Were you like, we don't have a chance, or are we more like, you know what, fuck statistics, fuck these guys, like I believe in my dogs, like we got this, like
Yeah, fuck Chris and Mac.
uh, Definitely not fuck Mac and Chris. We love those guys. They're amazing. They are the top offensive duo, I think, in the entire league when you put the 2 of them together. We have a really deep team, in my opinion. One of our like sentiments that we like to roll off of is like a chant and this like call to action of like we roll hella deep. And so we always have the next guy up, and for us the next guy up's like a 19-year-old or an 18-year-old. It just looks different. I think every team has a similar energy. It just, for us, it's just a little bit different. But we were pretty confident in allowing our guys like Evan Magsig and Walker Frankenberg and Dexter Clyburn to just step into a bigger role in moving the disc around backfield, because that's where we're going to feel it the most with missing those 2 guys on offense. And they all stepped up huge, and we're just trying to inspire everyone with confidence all week leading up to that.
Something I'm kind of wondering, like Mac Hecht was such a huge just addition to your team in the offseason. What was the when did you know that he was going to play for the Spiders? What were those conversations like? And just how did that come about? Because I'm just really curious.
Yeah, I think we caught wind that he was moving to the area, and we just reached out, got connected over email, and just kind of like did a little sales pitch essentially. Like we rolled out what we were trying to accomplish this year. Like we're like, hey, we got like strong, young, like the next generation of talent coming up through the Bay Area. We're tapped into these pipelines through doing all of like middle school clinics and coaching high school teams and coaching middle school teams. And we laid it out as like we have this 3-year vision, like we would want you to be a part of it. And he was pretty like receptive, which was cool. And then as soon as he like showed up in person, we just hit the ground running, and we're continuing to surprise ourselves. Like I said, like we're kind of on this like growth rocket ship that's pretty cool. And he as like like he's 26, so like he's still like entering his prime himself as like one of the most dynamic, dominant throwers in the entire league. And to have someone like that just, pop on in is exceptional. So it's been a great pickup, and he's great to have in the family.
That's sick.
Yeah, I mean, obviously adding Hecht is a huge addition to you, but just like overall, I'm kind of curious what you think the biggest differences are between last year and this year. Not that you guys were necessarily bad last year, but like there's clearly been a shift here, and you're competing with some of the best teams in the league now.
It just comes down to talent level up. Last year was like the first year where like we officially like crafted what is the Spiders, what is Oakland Ultimate, like the culture of it. And so we use that to attract talent going into this year. And like I said, 50% of the roster is new, and it's just it's a level up essentially.
Who wants to fire the next one? I feel like I've been asking a lot of the questions. I don't want to.
I've got more, but
yeah, go for it, Joe.
All right. Well, yeah, I've noticed in a bunch of your games, like especially with the Shred and the Summit, it kind of seems like the Shred and the Summit don't necessarily go into the games, at least at like the start of the season. They don't think it's going to be as close as it gets, and like their energy might be a little jokey towards the start of the game, and then things get like pretty intense later on. There might be like a little bit of shoving. I just want to know, like, is that something that you guys notice? Is it something that you guys like when a team like makes that switch and starts taking you seriously? Like how has it been? What's the energy in the West like when you're playing all these different teams?
The West is funny. Like I've been playing the West for 5 years now, 4 seasons because of the COVID season. But I've just like seen year over year, like the team that you think is gonna destroy the other team, like towards the end of the season, like it just flips, and there's like some huge upsets. And so you can never really walk into a game thinking, all right, like we're gonna walk over this team. We definitely don't. We're just trying to consistently improve each and every game, and still trying to string together like a perfect full quarters that we haven't even done yet this season. Our energy is largely internal. I don't know if you guys noticed, but like we do a lot of team celebrations. We like to celebrate our wins together. We like to hype each other up. We use it as like a kind of like a rallying cry to just celebrate each other and continue pushing. And so I guess I would say that I personally don't pay attention much to other teams' energies or how they're doing it, because it don't really matter to me.
Yeah, it almost seems like just from watching that Shred Summit game, like I don't really know who started it, because I feel like Atkins kind of has this like kind of attitude about how he plays, and then the Shred kind of have their kind of intense attitude. And I don't really know who was trying to drag the other down, but it seems like they're just trying to drag each other into the like kind of petty celebrations, and like I guess it's kind of a way to fire themselves up, but it also kind of brings them in. Is that like something you'll because you have a very young team, I feel like that can kind of be something to maybe think about. But do you like say anything about that to the team, or are you guys just like, let's just focus on ourselves, like when you're playing the Shred or the Summit?
Personally, I think it's like the the Summit Shred game was like one of the most entertaining games I've watched. Like watching
it was awesome.
like
Yeah.
like I appreciate that. Like I am
Mhm.
like all for it. Like celebrate, spike the disc, like do what you need to do to hype up your teammates and get fired up, as long as it's not at the expense of pushing the unsportsman barrier like too far or like, being an asshole. But like, watching Adkins just taco that frisbee in the front cone corner, and then like Kerr 2 points later, like goes and like marks the spot with the same spike. That's what the fans in the stands are coming for. Like they're
Yeah.
buying tickets, they're filling up the stands to watch high level competitive sports take place, and like they're definitely getting their money's worth. So I'm all about it.
For sure.
I am wondering a little bit about your club experience. I don't know what team you play for, if you play at all. And we like to get like players' perspectives on, traditional club rules versus AUDL rules. So I'm curious your stance on that as someone who's, so bought into this AUDL team.
Yeah, I largely have just done pro since I started playing pro. I appreciate my off seasons, I should say. Like my time away from frisbee is nice to reset, especially when we're like going from January all the way to August. So historically haven't done much clubs. Last year I did play Mischief mixed team here in San Francisco in the Bay Area, which I had a great time. I've never played mixed before. I was really looking for like an opportunity to kind of like meet more people in the Bay Area, especially people in the women's ultimate community. Which it turns out that like there was 8 players from Mischief that then ended up playing Falcons, and with Spiders, since we're both in the East Bay with Falcons, like we try to like share some field space and really like organize things together, and that was just came by through happenstance of like meeting all the people on Mischief that end up playing Falcons, and that was a great experience. But I don't think I'm going to play club this year. I think I am going to just keep focusing on getting better in the off season through lifting and being in the gym, and that's just kind of my style, and that's just been what has worked for me. And I don't see it changing much.
Yeah, I get that. I feel like a lot of players we talk to, it's like, or a lot of players who don't play AUDL, it's like the opposite. They're like, really passionate about a club, and then they're like, oh, but I want my off season, so I'm not gonna like do all this extra shit. But it's cool to see a player like really buy into the pro league as like someone who watches, because watching the AUDL is far more fun personally than watching club. So
100%. Yeah, I mean, like when I came into it, like I was like, we got Dylan Nice and Raekwon Adkins, our teenagers on the team this year, but like I was that kid too. Like I was that 19-year-old coming in and playing on Spiders, and I kind of just walked into this whole new experience of frisbee, playing in front of 500 fans, like having an opportunity for my friends and family to come out and catch games in person and follow along through a full entire season. It's I just saw it as like this is like the platform that's gonna do it. Like if we're gonna like continue to build up frisbee and share it with people that have never heard of the sport or never enjoyed it, like I just believe this is the platform. So I just fully jumped in, and again, I think that a lot of people that kind of mix and match club and pro, it works for them because of like staying in touch with social communities and staying active in the communities and that kind of thing. But I'm just trying to like really like build up this program because I want to provide like an opportunity for all the young people or the young players in the Bay Area to shine on the national level, and it's just something I want to share with a lot of the fans and my friends, my family, and just extend that on.
For sure.
I would be fascinated to see you have a conversation with someone like Dylan Freechild, who we had. He was really cool about he came on the pod like a couple months ago.
Yeah, I watched that episode.
Awesome. Yeah. So you would have seen like he has kind of like the opposite stance on the pro versus club kind of debate, as it were. It's not, but he's like really passionate about club, and he like doesn't really think that the AUDL or like pro is like the future of ultimate. But like I'm kind of maybe more in your camp of like, if I like as a fan, I'm interested in watching a team. Like it's a lot better over the course of a season. I can kind of get the storylines and like show up to more games versus like club. It's kind of like really condensed tournaments, and there's like a handful of them all year. So it's like I think it's a better fan experience, you know, in the pro league. But I would be really interested to like see you kind of talk out your kind of point of view with him. That would be kind of interesting. But I don't know, because
Yeah.
he kind of has the opposite like vibe. But do you feel
I
like you're no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I remember, so I watched that episode because like this whole dichotomy of like pro and club like is something that's like so prevalent. You
Yeah.
know, for me, someone that like been captaining a pro team for 4 years now and have slowly been focusing on pro, like I think it comes up. I think about it a lot. I'm
Yeah.
talking with like my coach, like our president, like the people within our organization, just, you know, it's a topic. Um, you know, watching your episode with Dylan, like for me, I don't have that experience of high level elite club, never played it before. So, you know, I
Mhm.
can't really speak on like the magic of club and the magic of those like tournaments and playing at nationals. You know, it's a little bit alienating to me. But I remember him saying that like one of his favorite experiences was like the next gen tour when he got to tour around
Yeah.
and play against high level club teams and play in front of big crowds in new cities. And that's what I get to do. Like
Yeah.
I get to fly around and, you know, travel to 7 different cities in one year playing, you know, frisbee games, and I get to invite out friends, family, while also friends and family are watching at home. And, you know, they're filling up stadiums in Colorado and Salt Lake with like thousands of people. And we get to just go out there and be pro athletes. And so I think me and Dylan are very similar in that like we largely have enjoyed this little pocket so far. For me, like I think he was at a similar age to me probably when he was doing that next gen tour. But you know, I got hooked on it for the same reason as him, and that's why
Yeah.
I continue to want to share pro with the younger kids, because this is where they can kind of step into that limelight.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, for context, let's not forget that Dylan also played 3 years of Dallas Roughnecks Pro AUDL, and in our podcast, he was like all my things about the AUDL, like those 3 years were like super fucking fun. So like even him, like he knows like this style of, you know, one game a week, televised, not televised, but like, you know, streamed and in the stands, like it's fun. And like as a spectator and as a player, like I think personally, like, because I don't play high level, like I'm a lot more pro AUDL than like high level club. And I think it's just a lot more engaging for like the whole community versus, you know, high level club. It's more about like just that select few players, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like to just support everyone, be like,
Yeah.
pick what you want to do. Like if you want to play frisbee, club, pro, like do your thing, enjoy it. I might just be a little bit different in that realm.
For sure.
I appreciate the kind of laid back like perspective about it. 'Cause I think that's the way to go. It's like at the end of the day, whatever works for you works. I'm not gonna, you know, tell you how to live your life. But yeah, I think you brought up a good point that like no one I haven't heard in this conversation, but you're like, yeah, my family can watch the games. And that is like so true, because like I'm just thinking back to like when my grandparents have tried to catch a game at a tournament before, and it's just like so unaccommodating to people who want to go and watch. It's like kind of weird. There's no like a lot of the times it's just like a big soccer complex and there's nowhere to sit and like watch the game. You're kind of standing on the sidelines. It's kind of weird. Like it's in the middle of nowhere a lot of the time. Like, so yeah, you're like, yeah, my parents and whoever can come sit in the stands, like be comfortable. Like, you know, it's once a week. It's whatever. They don't have to sit in the sun for 8 hours at, you know, on Saturday of a tournament. So, that's a really like that's a good point that I haven't heard, that I just kind of wanted to, you know, spotlight a little bit. But
Also,
yeah,
there's not like a ton of frisbee tournament, like club frisbee tournaments, where the fans are really a big part of what the tournament is like carrying. Like they don't make
Yeah.
an effort to provide a good experience for the fans, whereas that's a huge part of the AUDL.
Exactly.
It's the biggest part of the AUDL. Like
Yeah.
that's how
Whole point.
that's
Yeah.
like how these teams are going to become profitable in the future, is by being able to sell out stadiums with diehard fans coming to watch games.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we're honestly, like, I think we're starting to get on the way there. Like, I was seeing some people just talking about, like, I saw some Reddit thread or something, and people were like, "Oh, I went to the Empire game and I was actually really surprised. Like, it was packed. It felt like I was expecting like a high school football game or something, but it felt actually like a professional sports environment." And it was cool because I see a lot of people kind of talk negatively about the AUDL sometimes, especially just like in our ultimate, I think is like I don't know. I've seen some people be critical there. So it was cool to see people like talking positively about the fan experience at the AUDL games. So I hope that's kind of like the trend of where people are experiencing the games and stuff. But yeah, all the games this season seem like people are coming out, you know?
Yeah. On that note, Keenan, like in the West, like which stadium besides necessarily your own, but like which stadium is like the most fun to play in with like fan atmosphere and, you know, under the lights? Like who kind of brings it the most?
Last year I would have said Colorado. I think at that DU stadium, they're like right in the heart of Denver, so they like packed it in. And it was really, really fun to play there. And Colorado fans are funny because they like to talk. They were doing it this year too. The little beer garden that was like right
Yeah.
behind where we're playing.
We're
like
well
every
aware.
yeah,
I was
every
definitely not there when
yeah. But I think this year it has to go to Salt Lake. There
Wow.
at Zion Banks. They just, I mean, the shred heads are real. That's all I'll say. The shred
They're
heads
getting
are absolutely
rowdy.
real. They get rowdy. They get raucous. They like to yell. They like to boo, and they like to dance and celebrate and have fun and cheer on the team. So it's all the emotions you'll get. And being the away team, you'll definitely hear it from them occasionally.
Nice.
All right. Well, you just compared their stadiums, compared the teams. Who did you think gave you? I mean, obviously you just beat one of them, but who did you think was the better team when you were playing them both?
I knew that those teams would be really, really close together after playing them when we did our back-to-back doubleheader.
Mhm.
Like we got a taste of both of them, and then of course, the marquee matchup was the next weekend between the two of them. I had guesstimated that it would go to Salt Lake by about 1 goal. That's literally where I was lining up. And yeah, that's where we are. I think it's like it's hard to draw the line any further. Like it's extremely competitive at the top in the West. And we've seen teams not even at like their full rosters or their like full power yet. And I think we will continue to see that. So it's only going to get more exciting.
Yeah. I mean, the last 3 Summit games have all been one point losses.
Yeah.
Like,
Brutal.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I feel like they could still steal one, I guess, if they meet in the playoffs, but who knows? Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll lose to you guys in the first round. We don't know. I don't want to,
Tough to
make any
say.
predictions right now. Tough to say.
Yeah.
Do we have more questions? Or I mean, Joe, we're kind of getting towards like tier talk territory. Is that where we're
Yeah, I got one more
Nice.
question about just the Spiders in general before we head over to tier talk. But you've talked a lot about kind of just now realizing what you guys could be and the potential that you all have. So I'm just curious where you think that improvement is going to come from, or like what do you think is the thing you all need to focus on the most to reach that next level?
It's probably like the easiest answer is just like time spent together. Like this team has been playing together for 5 months, if you include all of our like preseason practices. Some teams around this division have been playing together for like 5 years. So like we're really on this, like we have a 3-year plan that we're looking at, and we're way ahead of our trajectory on that 3-year plan. And I'm just beyond stoked to kind of keep doing it because we just don't know. I don't know. Like I don't know what our ceiling is. But I know that we're not there yet, and it's just time, people buying in even more, and just a full-on commitment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'll say you
Before
guys
we-
have been so fun to watch. I bought a bunch of merch like after 3 games into the season, where I've watched all of them and I just like was so entertained. Also the 8 legs, 1 heart little like spider frisbee thing. Like I
Yeah.
love that. I love that little logo so much.
He's called Arachnid.
Oh,
And he's
I love it.
Arachnid.
That's
He's a
awesome.
fan favorite.
Yeah.
We've got some really nice Arachnid shirts, so you can get a little Arachnid like right up here on some nice
yeah.
colored shirts in our
Yeah.
shop. Definitely check those out.
Yeah, I got a frisbee and I'm using. They gave me a little
Nice.
coaster, and that's what I'm using for my
Nice.
beer right now.
Awesome.
We've gotten like off track mid episode, like we were on something and then we just got distracted by the like Spiders merch website and like just plugged you guys accidentally. Just like we almost forget we're recording. We're like, oh shit, this hat is like dope. Your merch game is very strong. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, shout out to Stay Diff. They're located here in Oakland. They do all of our design for
Oh,
our
yeah.
merch. They do our media. They do our live streaming. They're fantastic, and they've really been immensely helpful in continuing to build this program with us.
Nice.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, they're killing it.
Shop.staydiff.com.
Stay Diff.
Before we jump into tier talk, quick non-frisbee thing. Like, you talk about your off seasons. Besides frisbee, like, what do you get up to in life? Like, what are your hobbies, and what are other things that our fans don't know about Keenan Laurence?
There's plenty. I like to snowboard a lot, and ski.
Oh yeah.
Like big into the mountains. That's why when the pandemic hit, I moved up to Silverthorne, Colorado, and just kind of ski bummed it for 10 months.
Fuck yeah.
I enjoy a little bit of travel. Looking forward to traveling around, seeing family once the season gets wrapped up. My mom lives all the way over in Fiji, and that's where I go. So I'll be heading there for 3 weeks in November.
Where in Fiji?
In Savu Savu. It's on the second largest island in Fiji. It's a small little town.
I've got a 9-hour layover there on my way to New Zealand in a month.
Oh,
damn.
cool.
Yeah.
You'll probably be hanging out in Nandi right outside the airport there. But
Yeah.
definitely, head down to Beachcombers and or hop on a boat, head over to Beachcombers and have some fun.
All right, good to know. That's cool.
Fuck yeah. Well, if you
That's
ever,
awesome.
if you're in Colorado this winter and you're skiing or snowboarding, you gotta hit me up. We'll go.
I would love to.
Fuck yeah.
All right. Well done, Ryan. You got another snowboarding buddy out of this.
You need them.
Yeah,
You
What
need
it's
'em.
all about.
Oscar and Yacht said they were gonna come out here, and then I don't think they ever did. So I don't know what the fuck was going on with them.
Big league, you man. The big league,
I
you.
know.
All right. Let's get into some tier talk.
Oh,
Shall we?
dude. This West Division is
I-
crazy.
I'm excited for this.
All right, elephant in the room. Oh, Mechanics, like that game. Did they just play themselves out of Mechanic Squared?
Do we not have a Mechanic Squared tier anymore?
Oh man.
Yeah, I think so. They
Ian,
did
you know
a
about-
good job.
Do you follow the rest of the league closely, or are you pretty keen into just the West?
Yeah, I key in. I really enjoyed following along and watching what other teams are up to. I don't watch the Mechanics play.
We thought we don't either.
Totally fair.
I heard
Totally
they were
fair.
like tied in the fourth quarter this
Yeah,
past week.
I was literally like watching a different game. I forgot who else was playing on at the same time. And then my roommate, who's also a big AUDL fan, was like, dude, Mechanics is tied like in the third. Like, you need to watch this game in case.
Yeah,
they win."
that's must see TV at that point.
It
Yeah.
is.
Absolutely.
I literally stopped. I stopped what I was doing when I heard that, and I tuned it in. It was weird. It was we talked to Cam Brock a decent amount, and he was like, they played well, like which is kind of rare. Like Sam, you made the point last episode where they lose like every game, and so like maybe it'll start close, but then if like they make a couple mistakes, then it's like they just get kind of deflated, and then they lose. But I think this one they played well enough for long enough to like, I guess they, for whatever reason, they believe that they could probably win, and then they like were able to keep it going. But
Yeah.
it was kind of weird. Like they needed to score like way more quickly
Yeah.
than they did. Like at
Yeah.
the end, like they took 2 minutes or like 2.5 minutes to like score their last goal, and then they
Yeah, that was
lost
terrible.
by 1.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the Alley Cats zone that they threw there. They were not giving them anything deep. They forced like 50 throws on that possession. But no, I
Yeah.
mean, I agree. They can't just like swing it and use up an entire minute and be like halfway up the field when you're down by 2.
it was just
Yeah.
like they've
Got to take a
never
shot.
Yeah.
they've never been in a position like that in like
Yeah.
years to be like,
Fair.
okay,
They don't know what to do.
what's our path to winning this game? We got to score this one quickly, get a D, and then score it. It's like they weren't even. I don't know. Like I'm not gonna claim to know what they were thinking, but it was kind of weird. Like they just kind of slowly marched it up, and then they lost by one. It was kind of weird, but
Yeah.
Mhm. All
Um,
right, but
so
yeah,
what do we do? What
let's
do we do with
move
that?
them
They
up
played
outta
well.
here.
Yeah.
I think we got to move
Yeah.
him up also because like Nitro is like not even a franchise currently. You know, I don't know. They're
No,
they're
yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Their best player has played what, one game, right, Sam? As your fantasy first overall pick.
Don't
Oh,
don't
gosh.
fucking talk to me about that. I didn't
Keenan,
ask for the
that's
first
so-
pick. I didn't want it.
Tough pick.
Keenan,
So
you've been doing
tragic.
great on my fantasy team. Let me just say that.
Hey, shout out.
Oh, I didn't realize Keenan was on your team.
Oh
That's
yeah,
sick.
and then I got Dex on my bench because I've heard rumors that his role is gonna increase over time.
Yeah, dude, Dex is phenomenal. You got some players on your team, Ryan.
Oh yeah.
All right,
Oh, man.
let's keep moving up. We got
Oh.
Montreal lost twice. Houston
Also,
lost.
Just for reference, we kind of do left to right. So like, the B division, the souls at the top, Winchell's at the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah, it's ranked. It's literally ranked. Like we essentially rank all the teams, but
Nice.
Right.
Nice.
But yeah, we should probably talk about Seattle because they won.
Yeah, 1-1 on their road trip. That's good.
Yeah, for real.
if
I
you're
was watching
Keenan-
that.
Go ahead. Sam.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I was watching that Growlers game and like the Growlers were up. They really like kind of gave that game away. Or I mean, you could say Seattle took it, but I was very surprised to see the final score based on how they went into the fourth quarter.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think personally that game reflected more poorly on the Growlers than it did positively on Seattle.
Yeah,
But
I don't think
I do.
Lally was playing,
Oh,
but I guess
really?
Khalif also wasn't playing. So
But I also
both
do
just-
think that they look better than Montreal.
mhm.
Are they both
Um,
now just D tier teams? Because what? Besides, are the bottom five just undefeated, or they haven't won, right?
No, Houston and Seattle both have
Houston-
2 wins.
Who did
I mean,
Houston
I know you.
beat? Used to beat Dallas.
Yeah, I
right?
mean they've only but they only lost by 3 this week to the Soul, I think.
True.
I mean they're
I
still
don't-
like kind of dog shit, but
Do we move Seattle? Yeah.
Do we
They beat
do we
they beat the Growlers on the road without Khalif, so I think they got to move up. And
give
maybe
it a
go-
bump for just getting a win? We
It
just
was
held
a good
Detroit
win.
up.
They
for-
played hard.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were down in the fourth quarter. They had to really make some things happen to bring that back and even have a shot
Yeah.
at winning. So
Nice.
Yeah, for sure. They had one break chance heading into that quarter, and then they got I think 6 in that quarter. So
Damn.
they definitely
Yeah.
turned it on.
yeah,
So
they
they
can
were,
rally. They're a team that can rally. They're a young team too. I've been playing against like the same guys, like Munoz, and the Lopez Escroz brothers, and Dom for years now. So they're they're a fun team to watch. I really enjoy watching Seattle.
Yeah. Also, Keenan, one of our rule of thumbs is like if we ever have a guest on for your tier talk, like you have complete final
Yeah.
say on
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
Let me make the hot take.
Dude, I mean, if you want to put yourself in Empire tier, like that's your call, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Should
Um,
we go ahead and move the Growlers down then? Because they,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
do we keep
Did-
them ahead
did-
of Seattle or do we drop them below Seattle somehow? How do we handle
I
that?
think-
I
I
think
feel like they're still top of D. They just had a loss. I don't know. I don't want to just because of one game like drop them all the way down. Because
Yeah.
It was a home game. I think the fact that it was a home game matters a little bit.
I still think that they have looked better. I think most of their games they've looked better than Seattle has looked at Seattle's best.
Mm.
Even if they only have 2 wins and they just lost this one and they looked like a just non-existent team in that game against the Summit earlier in the season, I still think generally, I would expect them to beat Seattle if they played like 2 more times this season. I think they would win both.
Keenan, have you played the Growlers in Seattle at this point?
Yeah, we've
Who do you-
done twice against Seattle, and we still have one more against Growlers.
Who do you
Yeah, who
think's
do you think?
better?
I'm not entirely sure. I think that
It's kind of a tough
it-
call.
it is tough. Like I think that early on in the season, like we saw Seattle at pretty full power, kind of towards the beginning of the season when we went to overtime with them.
Right.
I think that they're both right to be in that D tier together. I wouldn't put one of them lower than
Okay.
the other.
Okay, I can
Let's
make
get 'em.
them sit next to each other.
Oh, all right. Are they better than the Rush though? Like,
The Rush just beat
the
Pittsburgh
Rush
by
beat
1,
Pittsburgh.
so
Yeah.
we should probably flip them, but keep them right next to each other also.
God, I also like in the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't want to spend too much time in this D tier because it's like, who cares?
I'm over it. Yeah, kind of
It's
done.
like,
Can
whatever.
Can we bump the Rascals up to the end of C? I don't think
What
they
they-
deserve to be
Yeah, I
in the
don't-
same tier. They're not great, but they have a chance to do something, and they keep playing competitive games against teams that are better than the D tier.
I mean, they just lost by 5 to.
Yeah, but it was I mean, I agree with you, but it was a lot closer than 5 for most of the game.
all right.
That is true.
Fine with
Do
me.
we
Yeah,
move
I
them
feel
up
like-
after a fat L though,
That's a good point. But I mean,
that feels wrong to me.
I'm with Andrew.
Yeah,
fair enough.
like
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I feel like a bump up's gotta like it's gotta be coming off of like
Alright.
something.
you gotta
Yeah,
earn
warrant
it.
it.
Yeah.
yeah, Joe, idiot.
And it was at home too. I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
They're 1 and 5.
I agree that they don't strike me as belonging in this group, but yeah, I'm cool with not rewarding them after that big loss.
Did the Hotbirds deserve, or did they play themselves out of 2 different teams? Like, do we have to combine them now?
Oh, I
I
see
don't
this
know.
now. You got the Cold Birds and the Hot Birds.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they lose to the Glory and they like have a 1-point game to Pittsburgh and then they beat the Flyers. And it's like, what does that mean?
Yeah, what do we do with two?
Yeah,
I
tough
don't
to
know.
We don't
say.
know. I don't know. Do we merge them back? I don't think so. I still don't think they've done anything different. Did they?
Yeah, I feel like
did
the
they-
Cold Birds could still be there. They
All
won
right, all right,
handedly this week, but you
I
never know
guess-
when the Cold Birds are going to come out. That's kind of the whole thing.
They,
Also, like,
yeah, I'm not convinced that the Cold Birds won't come out again. So I think we still got to keep them there.
yeah, and Philly's Twitter, like they love coming at us for this. So I say we
Yeah.
keep
True.
One
I
more,
think-
one more,
I-
one more Rascals thing, real
Oh,
quick. All right, I know that they're 1 and 5, but they lost their first game to Pittsburgh by 1, then they lost to Alley-Cats by 1, and then they lost to Union by 2, and then they lost to Minnesota by 1. So 4 of their 5 losses were by 2 points or fewer. I'm cool keeping them in D, but I do just want to. I don't want to just say they're 1 and 5, so they're awful. I'm cool keeping them where they are, though.
I don't want to like. I feel like I don't always abide by this, but like at the end of the day, if it's like, oh, but this was close and this is a close loss and this is a close loss, but it's like still a lot of losses that are stacking up. Like I think that's
Yeah.
still a lot of losses, versus like maybe a really good team that lost a close game. Like you could still argue. I think right now you couldn't in good faith argue that the Summit are like better than the Shred after losing them twice. But like maybe before they lost that second game and then before they lost to the Spiders, I think there was still maybe a vibe that you could still say, I think the Summit maybe are a better team than the Shred. You know what I mean? So like, I think you can use that argument, but I don't think you can use it on the like 1 and 5 Rascals right now, but
Yeah.
All right.
I digress. I think I'm ready to get out of D tier.
Yeah, let's get out of this D tier.
All right. Yeah, back to see Boston lost by a lot to the Empire.
I
which
will
makes
say,
sense.
just like to give him a couple like notes, like the first like half, I forgot if it was like close or not, but it for sure felt close. Like I thought Glory was gonna put up a fight, and then at some point it just was
It
like
was-
break.
It was like 4-4 and then it was 9-4 in a blink.
yeah,
And like watching Boston, that game specifically, it was like every single time that Boston had to swing the disc really far, it was like a lazy throw, or it was like floaty, and like there was an Empire guy there like challenging that. Like I feel like their resets were really like casual. And I don't know, I feel like I maybe this is because like the camera angles for the games are always showing like the handler sets, but I feel like what's separating like a great team from a good team is like how good they are at like resetting the disc when they need to. Like it can be as simple as that sometimes. And like Boston didn't like seem to be taking them very seriously. They were just kind of like floating it out there, throwing like a silly blade, whatever, over the top, and then like, Ben Katz or whoever would just like be there.
Yeah.
Were they
I
were they
look
full
at-
strength? Were they full strength this weekend?
Yeah,
Who
they
knows?
sent a
Oh,
pretty
they
good
were.
team. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to get a read on Glory because like I feel like their season was front loaded with maybe some easier games to start off. And like in a division that like you're gonna see like very tough opponents twice throughout the season. So it's been hard to get a read on them, but I think we're getting into that like middle part of the season where it's becoming more and more clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I
And
feel
I
like-
also go ahead, Ryan.
I was gonna say, like if we're tier specifically, I feel like where they're at, I don't see them going down to D. I think bottom is C, above the Cold Birds, of course. But I think they're kind of sitting there pretty.
Yeah, I agree. I look at every team ahead of them, and I don't like Glory better than any of them, but they're better than the Cold Birds. So let's keep them there. Aviators.
Yeah, let's talk
Oh.
LA. They had a big win today.
Keenan, I would love to hear your take on LA because we've kind of been split, specifically the three of them versus me. Like I'm not an LA believer, but then they just beat Seattle by 9, and like to start the game, they were just stomping on them. And I was watching that game like a little bit, and I'll be honest, it kind of seemed more like the Aviators like magically found a way for the Cascades to just keep throwing it away. And because of that, they were converting like breaks. But I want to know from your opinion, like, are you an LA believer or is this just like a fake team?
Well, I like the box score that's coming up here. I think that I haven't watched much of LA this year. Actually, that's not true. I watch LA. I like to watch most of the West Division games just to kind of see what's going on. They looked a little shaky coming out the gates. Like I think there's a lot of hype around them, and so I was really like trying to key in on like would it like surface and actually be like that hype. They're definitely figuring it out. Like giving them props. Like their offense
Yeah.
looks really really solid. Like their hold percentage for this game was really really strong. And then to your point, Ryan, like yeah, I think that like Seattle was giving them the disc more than LA was taking it. And
Yeah,
like
like looking at this
Yeah, you
box
look at
score,
this-
like there's
yeah.
15
Yeah.
unforced turns.
yeah, and like going 9 for 25 on breaks, like that could probably be stronger if you're trying to make a case for a team to be at like the top of the division. But like they still won by 9, so it's tough to say.
I
Yeah,
think
am I-
for me, oh, go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say the way that this game started was the way that the one like from a week or two ago started too, right? And then Seattle just came back and made it a close game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay,
They also
yeah,
had
that's what I
Khalif.
thought. True.
I think there was a definite shift for me when they went 2-0. Granted, against the Cascades and Portland, was that last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever it was?
Yep.
There was, to me, there was a vibe shift where they really needed to put it together then. I don't think they could afford to like drop one of those games. And they took care of business and they looked pretty good. And I know they have a lot of potential. And then they just got the job done again today. And I think maybe it's time to be like, okay, the Aviators are maybe kind of hitting their stride a little bit and things are gelling a little bit more than at the start. So
For sure.
I kind of want to move them up. I see them in a similar spot as the Spiders, to be honest. Like I think it's a toss up. I think it's like a pick 'em right now between you two. I don't know if you disagree, but
Put some respect on Keenan's name. Come on.
but I think it's because you think low of the Aviators, but I think highly of them, and I think highly of the Spiders too. I think you guys are both. It'll be you guys fighting for the third playoff spot, basically, and I don't know who's like both really good teams. I kind of want to move the Aviators up to B tier. whether we put them above or behind. I think they deserve to be behind the Spiders still, but like I think we have them jump the Union and go into B tier. I feel like it's time, but I don't know if you guys agree with that.
I agree with that part of your take, but the Aviators have not been close to beating the Summit.
Or the Shred. Yeah.
They played, but that was like shitty Aviators. They're better now.
What are we talking
Um,
about?
They had a road.
I-
They played okay against the Summit, and the one that they lost.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a version of the Aviators that was kind of frustrating to watch, and they still had a respectable game, I think, against them, and it was on the road. And then what was their Shred game? Did they get like shat on by the Shred? They got pretty shat on by the Shred. Yeah.
They haven't played the Shred at home. And I mean,
Yeah,
I totally understand your point, Alu. Like, if we're saying given the Aviators came out shaky, like that Summit home game was pretty early on. Like I
yeah.
don't hold that too much against
So
them.
I'm saying
and then,
that was shitty Aviators, but they're not.
No, I
they're
agree with
different now.
you, but
They
I
beat-
also
they beat
don't.
Portland.
I don't think we should look at 3 games in a row against Portland and Seattle and say this is the Aviators and how they're going to play against the Summit the next time they play the Summit.
Yeah.
Yes and no. I think that like I think there's like signs, like it's obviously it's the Cascades and Portland, but like you can kind of try to read the tea leaves a little bit, I think, and like they
This
just
is-
look like.
Sorry,
You disagree?
I was gonna say no. I was gonna say this is very difficult for me because I actually I agree with you in bumping. I want to bump the Aviators up, and I do think the Aviators look a lot better. I just I think that the Spiders look better than that.
Yeah, I'm not saying we'd put the Aviators ahead of the Spiders right now. I think I would probably put them behind just because they had I think the Spiders have actually gone out and beaten like good teams versus the Aviators are just kind of beaten up on like Seattle at this point. But that's all we kind of have to judge them on, and I think they've looked pretty good. Is kind of what I'm saying. Ryan,
They're definitely putting it together. Like
that's what I think.
They're continuing to build and grow. Like they're looking like a better team each week, which is awesome. That's what I expected of them. And like when I originally saw our schedule, seeing like our last 3 games, like 2 of them are against the Aviators. Like I knew that's what it was going to come down to for sure. I would definitely bump them up over the Union.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no one disagrees with that. Ryan,
Yeah,
even you agree with that.
I
right?
agree with that. I do
Nice.
not think they should be in
Nice.
B tier, and I am adamant about that.
Really?
Okay, so let's just look at, I know we talk about just like teams, how good they are, but like we gotta talk about like maybe playoffs and everything. Like the Aviators are currently sitting at the 4th spot. There's no other team in A or B tier that's not in the playoffs right now.
They have the same record as the Spiders, though.
Okay, but this,
Oh, yeah. Are they 5-3 now too?
but
Yeah,
there's
after
a
this
huge
win, I think.
difference because the Aviators have gotten smacked by the top 2 teams in the West, and the Spiders just beat the Summit, so technically they could be the top 2 team in the West. And I think we can't forget that. Like, just because you're smacking on these
hey,
bad
look.
teams,
Oh man, I feel like I'm having different arguments where I keep agreeing with one point someone's making and disagreeing with a different
right.
point someone's making.
Keenan,
But Ryan,
okay,
that
can
doesn't
we just
mean
address like the quick elephant in the room is that one of our college best
Yeah.
friends plays for the Aviators.
Oh
So
yeah, I
all
know.
all 4 of us have bias. I think Andrew has a major bias towards the Aviators because we're all like fans of the Aviators because of that.
Of course,
And I
you
think-
gotta root for your boy.
Exactly. So like when I'm watching the
That's
Aviators,
what I'm saying.
I'm like, let's go Everest, let's fucking go. But because of that, I'm like, all right, I'm an Aviator hater, and I want them to prove me wrong.
Because
I
they don't
think-
throw it to him enough.
Really fucking boy up. Doesn't know how to get open because he's just tall and
Yeah.
he's whatever. I think Keenan, you got to take it and decide between B or C tier and where the
Yeah,
Aviators.
it's Keenan's call. It's Keenan. I've pled my case. I have bared my soul, but it's up to Keenan at the end of the day.
Just leave as is for now.
Right there, B tier.
I don't know.
Tell us where you go and tell us just move some teams around, move the Spiders around, move the Aviators. Tell us how you would make this right now.
Yeah.
I don't know, because all I know is that like I have a feeling that it's going to come down to like the last 3 games of the season, especially for the West. And
Let's not. Yeah, we don't want you to like jinx yourself, so we can avoid that happening. We all agree. Like, let's make the call to keep the Aviators below the Spiders. That's us saying that, not you, Keenan. That's us.
Yep. Yep, that's not me.
But yeah,
Really?
should we just vote like the four of us? Ryan's C tier aviators,
C
Sam
tier.
and
Oh, I'm B
Sam
tier. I'm B
Joe?
tier.
You're B tier. I'm B tier. Sam.
Yeah, I'm also B. Like I
Okay.
like going
Sorry,
into
Ryan.
the
Suck it.
I think looking ahead to those Spiders Aviators games, like I'm really excited to watch those. I think
I am too.
like at seeing the results we've seen so far, we'd probably expect the Spiders to, win one or two of those at least. But I don't see it as, like if we have an A team here matching up with a B team, we're like, oh, the A team's going to be a favorite by a couple points. Like I don't know if we're at that level with this matchup. Like I could see, I would have the Spiders at the top of B and the Aviators at the bottom, but like I
Cool.
still think it's like
I'm
gonna
with
be
that.
a game, it's gonna be
I'll-
one to tune
I'll-
into.
I'll allow that. I was gonna like wait till we get to the Spiders, but I have the Spiders clearly at the top of B.
Yeah. I think that's clear after that
Yeah.
win.
Yeah, they just beat the
Yeah.
Suns.
We can move the aviators up and move the Spiders up. Like both can be true. You know what I mean?
And I-
That's what
Um,
that's what I
also-
want. I want to move both up.
yeah.
This
And
is-
while
I like
while we're
this.
in B tier, I think Minnesota just jumped the Cats. They're 6-1. Cats
Oh,
are
yeah.
5-2, and Cats just beat the Mechanics by 1 at home. Like,
do the
Didn't-
cats win a head to head against the Yaters?
ooh, that's a good matchup. I'll be honest.
It's a weird matchup.
It is
Both
a
are
weird
pretty.
matchup.
They're similar teams because they've all been like those two teams have been playing together for a while.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like that would be interesting. I think it would be a toss up. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I like how this B tier kind of is.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty set with that.
That B
Minnesota-
tier looks scrappy.
Yeah, it's a scrappy
Yeah.
tier. Minnesota and the Soul. Well, what's like Minnesota? I don't have a good read
Oh,
on Minnesota.
The Soul
I-
played like shit.
Yeah,
against
they
the Havoc.
They
Both
they
teams
only
had
won
like
by
30
3.
plus turnovers.
Yeah,
The Soul
This-
is the Philly of the South.
I think they're
No,
just
they
like-
win. They get the job done.
I think they're just like, we have like a bunch of fucking cakewalk games and we're just gonna like win them. We're gonna show up and win them.
Yeah.
And like on their mind the whole time is like, okay, once we get to the playoffs, we have to like beat the Hustle and beat the Flyers. But for now, they're just like, whatever, let's go to Houston this weekend. Whatever, let's go to Dallas this weekend.
Yeah.
Like every weekend.
yeah, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
they don't beat the actual competitive teams that they play. Also,
Mhm.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
bump Minnesota above them if we wanted to.
Really, Minnesota had like a weird
I'm down
loss
for that.
though at some point. Whatever.
I think they lost
Yeah,
to the
but-
Union.
They lost to the Union,
they-
but
Then
right.
they beat the Union. So
Yeah.
they beat them after. Okay.
So
I don't know. I
Alright,
think that
alright.
yeah, I think Austin needs to dominate a bad team and play efficiently, or just beat a good team, and then I'll put them back to the top of B if they want. But I don't know. They just
They-
keep looking like okay.
They've not
Mhm.
looked great against Houston, which does not inspire a lot of confidence. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. They actually have a great way to start their grind for the playoffs. Their next 3 games, which are their only 3 games left, are Dallas, Houston, Dallas. So
we
That is-
talked
Wow.
about this like
How many
before the
times
season.
have they played like Dallas and Houston?
Feels like it's been every game. Like
That's legit.
It's
they
no
play
that's crazy,
8 times throughout the season.
what?
That's a lot of
Yeah.
games.
we legit talked about like the playoff picture
Yeah.
between like, the Hustle and the Soul because we just assumed the Flyers would win it all, and we were like the Hustle have like an immensely harder schedule because like they played the Breeze, and like the Soul just seemed to play Legion and Havoc every week, and
Yeah, they're
Some battle
well, I
testing.
don't want to say getting gifted a playoff spot because
They
it
are.
wasn't going to go to Houston anyway. But,
yeah, well, yeah.
but
Right.
yeah, no, I know.
All right. Keenan, you got any thoughts on this B tier, or are we set to go above?
That looks solid.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
A tier.
Elf-
To
This is where it
A.
gets interesting.
Elephant and A, Summit, or at least behind Breeze, and maybe drop even more. But they do not deserve to be top 3 anymore.
0-2 on the road.
Oh,
Definitely
two
not.
good teams, but Yeah.
You got to take care of business at least one of those games.
Do we put them above Philly?
I
Yeah,
think they're
they
still
have to
above
be above
Philly. I think they have to be above Philly. I think the argument is whether or not they're below Hustle, because I think both teams are really good, and honestly, I would love to see that matchup between those two teams.
That
Oh,
would be
yeah.
fun. That would be really fun.
Yeah.
I think the Spiders might beat Philly. I don't know.
Yeah,
Honestly,
but it's hot birds and cold birds. It's hot birds. I mean, I think
I
if
know.
it was an actual Philly, they would be like bottom of B probably.
I
But-
think the Spiders would beat the Hotbirds because y'all can play that small ball game, but then like when you do shoot it deep, you like always come down with it. And Philly is just like their only game is shoot it deep, and I think you have the dogs to go up and stop them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to remember we're only looking at games where Philly is amazing, and we're looking at every other team in this chart is just they're good and they're bad. But this is
This is-
just the good Philly.
This is the
This is
version of
have no
Philly.
downside.
Yeah, this is when all of their hucks are completed.
Yeah.
like, and everything
is-
works
Hot
perfectly.
birds. They're too
This is when the
hot.
Hotbirds take Empire to OT and beat the
And-
Flyers.
yeah.
They've had
Right.
some really exciting games this year.
For
It's
sure.
been fun to
They
watch them. It's been really fun to watch.
They've
James
been-
Pollard is just balling out.
He's a monster.
Friend of the pod.
Yeah, he's
Friend
awesome.
of the pod.
Yeah.
Friend of the pod. Yeah, he is like he's awesome.
He's amazing.
But there's just this is beating a dead horse at this point. I've gone on my Philly rants on this show. But
Yeah.
it leaves a bad taste in my mouth seeing them in A tier. I don't think they belong there, but we can whatever.
You know, I'll let you decide. Do you think the Summit's better than the Hustle, or should we leave them where they're at?
I'd say a full strength Summit might be above the Hustle. I mean, the Hustle are battle tested too. Like they've played some really tight games and against good
Yep.
opponents.
Yeah, they played Empire. I think they lost by 3. So that'll be, I guess, the best comparison is what New York does to the Summit.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing. We get to see that very soon.
Yeah,
So excited.
It's gonna be an awesome one to watch.
I think I would put Summit above Hustle.
I don't
think.
know if I don't know. I think they need to do a little soul searching. Also, Nethercut wasn't there for either of their road losses. I just want to throw that out there. I don't know how much of a difference that makes necessarily.
Oh, yeah. I
A
wanted
huge
to-
difference. That makes
Yeah.
a big difference.
I wanted to talk about this. I was ranting in our group chat about how much I did not enjoy watching Alex Atkins play center handler. I thought it was
Oh,
They
like
yeah.
looked
really not great.
Their O line was way less consistent, but Nethercut can throw his turns. He can. That's just kind of where I was going with that. Is like he's not he can throw some turns sometimes, but yeah, like their offense definitely looked. I don't want to say like lost, but it looked like they were figuring things out on the fly without
Yeah.
him a little bit.
I just feel like
thing-
Atkins doesn't have the mindset that you need in that role because he's like on the resets, like I mean he's enormous and he'll just stand there with his arm out and he's like just throw it to me, I'm open, and then which like fair,
Open.
but also
Oh.
like watching these games, he's like looking for the big shot, he's not looking to like chisel and work it up the field. Like there was one point I think against Salt Lake where they had like a really good give and go sequence, and then like I don't think we saw it again. Like I thought the Colorado offense was a little handicapped that way.
The one thing
You
that
go, you go.
really, the one thing that's really like shocked me is just like the presence of Danny Landisman this year, and I don't know what's going on with him in his personal life or why, but I think he's only played one game. In last year, that O-line like handler core was Nethercut and Landisman, and it was really smooth because they just kept working it. I'm sure Keenan, you can attest to their team last year. And I'm really curious, like, is their full strength roster ever gonna exist this year? And B, like, is that just gonna be a different team when Kins does not have to be that center handler type guy?
I mean, we've played Summit twice now. And both times we never saw Nethercut. I think that like Nethercut is like just one of those players that like there's no one else like him. So
Yeah.
if you've kind of if the offense gets used to playing with someone like Nethercutt, kind of like if people would worry about the Spiders this weekend because without Mac and Chris, like who was going to fill those roles? Like
Mm-hmm.
same questions for Colorado when Nethercutt's out, and I think those are probably some of the hardest shoes to fill in the entire league.
Yeah.
And like I give props to Adkins. I think he played pretty well this entire weekend, like in both Salt Lake game and against us. He had some fantastic throws that like were really just dropped in perfect spots, even in windy fields. It's just like I think those are probably the hardest shoes to fill when it comes to like stepping up.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, in the Summit game a couple weeks ago, I remember Nethercutt was out and Finer ended up with like 350 throwing yards, but he didn't really throw the disc very much in this last game. I'm like, I don't know why they didn't try to utilize him more instead of Atkins.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if Atkins was hurt back then, and Atkins was like always
Mm,
kind of option one. Because I mean, Alex
Well.
Atkins is like sick. I don't want to sound like a hater. He's incredible, but
yeah, I just also
just
think that like
didn't seem
Finer's
like a good
amazing
fit.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, was he kind of the like centerpiece for Colorado, like when he was in college? Like, it's not like he's never done that role before. Like, he's probably pretty used to doing that. But
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, and also he was the like center handler for Bravo that won the title. So
yeah,
Yeah. I just think it's like a little different in AUDL with like just the way offenses run. Like the resets are like a really important factor.
yeah,
And I don't know. I felt like I also saw him getting like frustrated, like in his body language in a lot of those
I think
plays.
I think it also could be like the Shreds defense being like really aggressive.
Mhm.
I don't know. It like just kind of the eye test to me, the Shreds defense looks like they just kind of go really balls to the wall all the time. Maybe they're like more physical than other teams, but like I don't know, Keenan, you can probably like you probably have a better like take or idea about this, but like like the Shreds defense, are they like more physical than other teams, or do they do something different, or is it kind of like I don't know, like is there something different about the Shred on D?
They're very athletic,
Yeah,
like super athletic. They love to hunt for layout blocks on the unders, and they often can get them too. But they're also very smart. Like they're very, very well coached by Bryce Merrill. Like they break down into kind of like junky sets when we're running vert. They like to like poach off in the lanes. And so they're smart, they're athletic, and they're willing to like put their bodies on the line to make the play. And if you can do that, like the thing about the Shred is like they can do that for all 4 quarters. And like
Yeah.
you put up enough pressure on one team, like you're gonna get a block at some point. So
right.
they're really unrelenting. They're a really good defense.
Yeah, that's kind of, as much as like I was seeing the same things you were seeing, Sam, but I also like we should definitely give the Shred their credit too, because I think their defense looked really solid. But
They
I
went
mean,
they
we
went
got-
9
yeah.
for 9 on breaks, like against Colorado when they first met. Like
Yeah.
that's insane.
yeah. I mean, we have them second in the league right now behind Empire. Like,
Yeah, I for good reason, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, they earn that. They play themselves into that position.
yeah,
For sure.
That's kind of what you got to do.
They haven't
right.
faltered at all, realistically. They've rose to every challenge they've seen this season.
100%.
Pretty much.
All right.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Ryan.
I was gonna say what I'm hearing is like, maybe full strength Summit could be higher, but like what we've seen, I think is below Hustle and where they're at. So,
Yeah. I think
they
that's fair.
have to play themselves up it, and they have opportunities. They're playing Winchell, they're playing Empire. Like, man, that Empire game,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's gonna be
They-
so sweet.
It's gonna
They
be
could
wild.
get smacked. They could win. They could play tight. Like, any of those possibilities is going to be so telling.
I have a feeling they'll get a full roster for that game.
Oh yeah, I think
That's
so.
probably
yeah.
written in the contract. Like you got to be here for that one.
Yeah.
When the schedule came out, I looked and I was like, all right, that weekend, like that Friday night, I am free. Like I'm
Clear the schedule. Yeah, it's gonna be sick. Yeah. When is that happening? That's not next week, is it?
I think it's
Is that, like-
July 14th, but I'd have to double check
Okay,
that.
couple. So like a month. Damn, that's so long. I want to see that now. Yeah, okay. Do we want to move anything else in A tier? Breeze. kind of like things got kind of weird in that Montreal game. Joe,
Yeah.
you were on the
They-
sideline. Did you see anything about the Breeze that tips the scale anyway or anything? We like where they're at on the tier list.
I think I like where they're at on this tier list. I think there's just gonna like forever be a question between them and the Hustle because like both went 1-1 against Carolina, and there were times where I think the Hustle looked like the better team, and there's times where I think Hustle looked like the worst team. But I don't know if necessarily the Breeze have ever like showed that they're incredibly dominant, but they also just are like consistently really good against good teams, against bad teams. So I don't know. I think that third quarter got very weird. I don't know. I think DC just came out of halftime up by a bunch in like their first game in a while that wasn't close. And they just kind of like, I don't know, like a little bit of complacency. And Montreal just like ate it up. And there was a friend of the pod, Brandon Addibay. I don't know. I guess like I would have said before, bid into Jacques Nissen, but really he just like
He
was
tried his
close
best to get
and
out
then
of the way.
tried to get out of the way. Yeah. And then a lot of the Breeze got really pissed at it and like words were exchanged. And I don't know. I feel like Addy Bay knew he had tried to get out of the way and like the Breeze were just pissed. And I think it just like gave Montreal a boost in that quarter. But I mean, in the end, it wasn't even enough to make it a close game. The fourth quarter was crazy. Yeah. I was listening to the Breeze huddle before the fourth quarter, and they were like, let's go out and set the tone early, get a break early, and that's our tone for the fourth quarter. That's like exactly what they did. They got a break, and then I think Montreal's only scored once in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. That kind of sways me a little bit. I was gonna like throw this out there, like, would Atlanta? This is like super splitting hairs, but like, would Atlanta let a team like Montreal back in the game like the Breeze did? But then, you saying that they like talked at the start of the fourth and they did exactly what their game plan was, and then they just totally put them away. Like,
They won by 9.
yeah,
I know.
whatever.
I think
don't
it was 13-15 at the start of the fourth.
I was scared, man. Yeah,
I was too. But honestly,
Yeah.
honestly, it took like probably 4 Montreal turns for me to even notice that Montreal was going on a run because I was just like so scared about what I was gonna have to say next on air. I was just like writing down notes, and I like looked at the score and I was like, oh my god, Montreal scored 4 in a row.
Joe, you did a great job. You were the MVP for sure, most valuable broadcaster.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, man.
I liked how
Well
you were
done.
like, back to you guys.
Yeah, they told me I had to send it back so they knew I was done talking because I couldn't actually hear them. I had no idea what they were
weird.
saying. I just had an AirPod in and I was on Discord with like the director of it, and he was
Oh, I
like,
didn't know
"Okay,
that.
Joe, they're gonna come to you." Sometimes they would be like, "This is what you should talk about." Sometimes they would be like, just say whatever you're seeing. And then he would like be in my ear being like, okay, Joe, they're coming to you in like 3, 2, 1. And I would be like, thanks guys. But I like had not a clue what they had just been talking about or if they had
That's
been
crazy.
like, here's Joe. Yeah.
The timing was off a tad. Like they would say, like, all right, now down to Joe, and then there'd be like a 5-second pause, and then he would start talking.
Yeah, no,
It was
I did
fun.
some game film review. I watched myself.
Good.
My mic was very loud.
Best way to
Yeah.
improve.
It was good. All right. So this Dallas Carolina game, like, God, I'm so upset that it didn't happen. 'Cause-
Fuck.
no, I mean,
Yeah,
no
whatever.
one cares. Like, like whatever.
I saw there was
whatever.
something happened in the Dallas airport, but I didn't see what.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
Anyway, we have a tier list. I think
Hell
it's locked in.
Sit, lock it in.
Lock it
boom.
in.
We like to split hairs a lot, and I definitely lead that charge.
That's where all the fun is. That's where you get all the fun.
I
Yeah.
do like it's not a normal curve. I like that a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like when it's two pronged. Keenan, you like it? We're good. Like, any last
Yeah,
thoughts?
it looks solid. No, it looks solid. I'm really excited to I think there's some really key games that will shake up the tier list
For sure.
over the next 2 months. And
Absolutely.
I'll be excited to follow along and see how it all pans out.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
There's a world where like Empire tier isn't a thing anymore. I'll say it.
Oh,
It's
I don't know
possible.
what would happen.
Yeah, there's not a podcast if that happens.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
what happens? What
terrifying.
happens if Salt Lake beats Empire?
I think they
I'm
just
gonna,
go.
I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna be so excited.
I think it depends. A lot of it depends on like how the game looks. You know, like did it look super evenly matched?
Oh,
Did
fuck
the shred
that.
just like double
Fuck
up the
that.
Empire? Like I don't know.
Fuck that. Shred go
Yeah,
to
it's not-
Empire tier.
If the Shred win, they become Shred tier. Like it's like, holy shit, we have the new top dogs of the league.
Ooh,
I-
I was just gonna say just have Empire in A tier and just get rid of Empire tier. That's what I was gonna say. But
I think that if they like beat them by like 4, then they get their own tier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
home field advantage
Sure.
might be huge at
'Cause-
altitude.
yeah,
Yeah, because then you start talking about like how efficient they've been, and it's like, wow, like this team, like for what, like back to back fewest turnovers in a game, like against Colorado, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it'll be interesting.
all
All
right,
right.
Lots.
We'll
lots to
get
think about.
there when we get there. Otherwise, I think it is time to wrap up.
hell
Yeah.
yeah.
This has been another episode of I'm Open. Subscribe and buy Spiders merch and buy our merch. And anything else?
I'm
I
open.
think we're all set. I'm open.
All right.
I'm open.
Thanks for joining, Keith.
Thank y'all for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, good luck the rest of the way.